let's get started with this tournament semi-final match between Twin Swarm on the left hand side with the Superman sleeves and Deadly Decay on the right hand side on the yellow Batman sleeves. And this is of course Twin Swarm versus Deadly Decay, but it's also Superman versus Batman. So let's see what happens. Deadly Decay, as a reminder, is the Darkness deck from the Light and Darkness tin from Shadow Clash, and Twin Swarm is one of the theme decks that came out in DM10 in Shockwaves of Shattered Rainbow. And yeah, of course, the video is being played at 1.5 times speed to make it faster, and I'm getting ahead of myself because there's already things happening on the board. There is a Brawler Zygar versus an Adventure Boar, essentially the same creature for all intents and purposes. Except for the race and civilization, of course, and now there's two Brawler Zygars on the board. That was my count impression. And let's see what happens here. There's two Fairy Lives charged and the Bronze Arm Tribe charging another Fairy Life. So there's three Fairy Lives there. Nobody dares to attack yet, so it seems like we're gonna have a stare down here. They're still trying to build a board, and no play on turn 4 from the Deadly Decay deck, and that's pretty tough. That's a pretty big loss of tempo, not playing anything on one of your turns. And yeah, a Silvermoon Trailblazer, I cannot pronounce that word. Not the best card, but it's still a creature. So now it's 3v2 in terms of creatures, but 5 mana tapped, which means probably Mongrelman, Photoside, or Vashuna, all of those being incredibly threatening, and there's a Vashuna coming. And the Brawlers are attacking, interesting. I think it makes sense because if you break with Vashuna twice, you set up for lethal now, if the opponent is on 4 shields. So yeah, it kind of makes sense, even though you basically sacrifice your Brawler Zygar. But even if you do, Vashuna can just trade back. Right, so let's see. Ooh, there's a Vrima, the Freaky Mojo Totem. This guy can turn all Beast Folks into double breakers and not even attacking with Brawler Zygar, destroying the Brawler Zygar here, which is an interesting choice, but I guess it makes sense because if you keep 3 creatures on board and not make them vulnerable, you could conceivably even go for lethal next turn because they're all double breakers, right? So that is super interesting, and Deadly Decay does have game next turn because Vashna can break the last 2 shields. So the game pretty much ends on this turn. Either we get, the Twin Swarm deck finishing it off now with Vrima's ability, or Twin Swarm winning next turn. So let's see. They did summon a blocker, a Bloody Skeeto, which does put a pin in the plans of Twin Swarm as they cannot go for game now with the blocker on board. They're thinking about something, tapping 5 mana for Tornado Flame, and if they can summon another creature, which they can, this triggers Vrima's ability, so all of the Beast Folks now get double breaker, and let's go. Seems like Bronze Arm Tribe will be attacking first. I guess he's thinking about somehow getting rid of the Vashuna, but I don't think you can do that because Vrima only gives 2000 power, so that would put the pig at 5000, which is not enough. Not the pig, the Adventure Boar, I mean. So I guess you kind of just have to YOLO it and go for game, but one shield trigger is enough to end the game. Let's see, attacking with the smaller power creatures first to play around Burst Shot, and no shield trigger, it's game. Let's get on with game 2 of the semi-final. Let's see if Deadly Decay can make a comeback. I mean, game 1 was pretty close, to be fair. Twin Swarm was 1 turn away from just ending it all with Vashuna next turn, but of course Vrima, the Freaky Mojo Totem, really showed its strength, just going all out in one fell swoop, taking all 5 shields and ending the game. That was just kind of insane. I guess that's why that card is in the deck. So there we go, just a big finisher for the Twin Swarm deck. I think it's the first time we see it as well in this tournament. I'm not sure, maybe not. But anyway, again, I'm getting sidetracked. I should focus on the game. There's a Bloodisquito and a Blasto who has 4000 power as long as there's a Darkness creature on the board, and 4000 power is huge at this stage in the game. There's nothing really that can trade into it, so they feel comfortable to attack with the Blasto and get some free shields before shit gets crazy. There's a Bark Whip coming in, and apparently the Bark Whip is attacking? Trying to kill the Blasto, which is a bit surprising because we have a Bone Ripper on board, which is a Slayer, and it can attack the Bark Whip to get rid of it. But I guess even in that case, the Bone Ripper will die, so the Bark Whip did kill 2 creatures, which is not bad, but maybe it's not the best use of a Bark Whip being a very important card for the deck and a very strong card in this format. So Tornado Flame, getting rid of the Bone Piercer to power down the Blasto and make it vulnerable to attack. So the board has been reset, it's completely empty except now there's a Fire Sweeper Burning Hellion on it, which is a pretty good card to drop on an empty board, all things considered. Let's see what happens. Bronze Arm Tribe, charging an Adventure Boar and summoning an Adventure Boar. So there we go. I think a Death Smoke, destroying the Adventure Boar, which means that the Fire Sweeper can attack safely without being traded into. Twinstorm has way more mana and charging a Fairy Life as well. So let's see what happens now. They're only on 2 shields though. Being on 2 shields is dangerous. But there's a Speed Attacker and a Bark Whip. Wow, okay. So being able to destroy the Fire Sweeper for free and getting a shield, and now all of a sudden the pressure has been flipped the complete opposite way around, with Twin Swarm having more pressure on the board. And yeah, 2 creatures coming along, threatening to destroy the last 2 shields, but of course the blocker killer, the Wind Axe, it's just really tough. Of course, we know that the Twinstorm deck has a lot of blocker hate. And now there's a lonely Brawler Zyler staring at the board. Of course, he can kill the Speed Attacker guy. Or maybe you just go for a shield and YOLO it, hope for a trigger. Because, yeah, I don't think you're ever controlling the board again if you're Deadly Decay. Not with this board, so maybe... yeah, it's hard to tell because the position is obviously really tough. But deciding to go for shields, which, yeah, maybe it works. I mean, he does have 2 attackers on the board if you include the Marrow Ooze, and there's only 1 shield. But Stormranger, that's so brutal in this position. Stormranger can, of course, essentially kill 1 blocker every single turn. And they decide to go for the Marrow Ooze, which is probably smart because it's the blocker that can attack and threaten your final shield. It's not it's not looking great. Of course, Brawler Zyre will get attacked as well, and you can't block it because it will die to other creatures anyway. Soul Gulp is really not what you want to be top decking, and yeah, Purple Piercer, Lonely Purple Piercer being summoned, threatening to break the last shield, but this is tough because Stormranger can destroy the Bloodisquito, and then you can probably even go for a game with 3 creatures, although you do risk hitting a shield trigger. Vrima being summoned. Interesting. That doesn't really do that much, but I guess it does put an attacker on board. But at that amount of mana... oh, never mind. It seems like we're getting a different play, and there's an Earth Ripper. Okay, so evolving into a Double Breaker, which is very all-in because now you take your mana back, but if there's no shield trigger, and there isn't, it's GG. What an interesting match this was. Twins were managing to pull ahead 2-0 in front of Deadly Decay, and of course that means that we now know both of our finalists for the structure deck bracket tournament that I'm doing on my channel. You should go check it out if you haven't. I will be putting the updated bracket on screen in just a few moments, and of course we'll see who the other finalist is. But if you don't want to get spoiled and would like to see the other matches first, now would be a good time to close the video. See ya!